Hello my fellow detractors, I hope you're all doing well. It continues to baffle me how the pigroach, despite the fact that it has been a year since the side-scrollers interview, continues to bring them up constantly, and has done so since it happened. I was under the impression that he describes himself as a positive person, who likes to move on from things positively. I guess the exception is when he perceives that someone has wronged him, or when he loses in fighting games, or when people at the grocery store move his cherry juice, or when people who despised him from the FGC days do better than him in the present. But you know what, never mind. He's not a positive person, and will hold a grudge forever. The pig continues to try to gaslight everyone, including himself, into thinking that the interview was a setup, that he didn't come off of it as bad as he did, or how the guys who interviewed him are much worse than he is. Here are a couple of examples.
Whenever someone wrongs me, I immediately get bombarded with information about the negative things that person or group has done. Like after the Side Scrollers interview last year, people bombarded me with information about how horrible Stuttering Craig and Adam Kriegler are as individuals. They sent me like laundry lists of shit hoping that I was going to do toxic streams about them. Guess how many toxic streams I did about those guys? Zero, because that's not who I am. I don't care.
So he doesn't do toxic streams about them. What is this he's doing now? And people bombarded him with information about how bad the side-scrollers people were? If this information was half as bad as he makes it out to be, then we would have heard about it already, especially from the pigroach, because he can't hold back whenever he sees an opportunity to take a jab at someone. Which, more often than not, then backfires and he starts complaining about them punching down on him. This isn't the only time the pigroach has brought up this supposed terrible information he has on Craig and Adam. In my opinion, he continues to bring this up as some veiled threat against them in order to have them stop talking about him. Which, from my understanding, for the most part they have done, and yet the pigroach is bringing up the interview every other day almost. The people on that channel may not be perfect, but considering the amount of stuff that exists of Phil being a despicable human being, they are nowhere near as bad as the pigroach.
Perfect example here, that Side Scrollers podcast. I had already made the decision to not do an interview. I had decided against it. Originally the idea was I wanted an interview, but then things were going good. And I said, I don't want an interview, I don't need it, things are going fine. And then all of a sudden, the Side Scrollers contact me to be on their show, and I said, yeah, I'll just be a guest on your show. And then they decided they want to turn it into an interview, which wasn't the idea and wasn't my intention. But here I am trusting a guy who I've worked with over the years multiple times and never screwed me over. And then he basically decides this is his big opportunity to get over on someone and make a lot of money and get a lot of attention for himself because he's a greedy asshole, right? So I got screwed in that situation. And what happened was you guys were negatively affected. My wife was negatively affected. My family was negatively affected. It wasn't just me. And that's not good. This is not just about me. This is about everyone involved, okay? And I apologize for that.
Here the pigroach claims he had decided against an interview after initially coming up with an idea. However, during this time, he never explicitly or implicitly mentioned this change. In fact, he continuously touted refusing interview offers while waiting for someone objective and neutral, who was clearly cherry-picking, and when he was contacted by Craig, he saw someone whose perspective of him was from the past, from back when he was successful and had, at the very best, a basic knowledge of what he had said and done since those days. Also, he says that it was never meant to be an interview. It turned out as such because the side-scrollers twisted it to be one. However, recalled the pigroach himself hyping it up, saying that the interview would be the one place where everyone could go to hear his responses to all the things he's accused of, and that no topic was off limits during the interview. Finally, the pig claims that the dents and his wife were negatively affected. How? They were exposed to a load of pertinent points, while he dodged questions and talked in circles. Ultimately, it made him appear deceitful throughout, and that's what the deadhead saw. It makes sense, this is what he fears the most. The top pay pigs seeing him from what he is and breaking the pig gnosis. And Cat being exposed to your lies doesn't really change much. She's there for the long haul, in my opinion.
Right? I'll be honest, yes, that stupid Side Scrollers interview, a lot of the things they brought up, like they'd be like, what about the bank leaks and what about this and that? I'm like, what about them? Did you analyze them? Can you show them on stream? Can you prove that those are real? No. Okay. But there's enough circumstantial evidence. No, you didn't prove it's real. So then you can't talk to me and act like it's real with loaded questions about them, which is exactly what they did. You see?
In this clip, he goes on a little tangent about how they had only prepared a bunch of loaded questions to throw at him, specifically referring to the bank leaks. What he fails to mention is how many times he has changed the story about these bank leaks, and often still changes it as time passes. First it was identity theft, but the person who got into his bank account had failed to take money from him. After a few months, he then said that he had been stolen a total of $9,000 or something like that. Likely a nudge to the dents for the money he was hoping to get from them at the time. During the interview, the story changed yet again, with the pig saying that the account in question wasn't even his to begin with. Despite the very obvious fact that someone had to go and spend a lot of money on products and services at the same time as he was on his days off. Like it was proved with the whole tire invoice. Those bank leaks are his account, beyond a doubt. Also, them not showing the bank leaks on stream was a massive favor they did the pigroach. Because I think the information would have hit even harder if they had really gotten into it deeply and with the information being shown as they went. So I don't think he should be complaining about that one.
Sure, let's bring up the stuff that you don't like about me, like the eBay or whatever, but let's talk about that Side Scrollers interview. Let's talk about how those guys all became fucking snakes after the fact, and literally for the last many months have profited directly off of slandering me and everything about me. Because I think that would be something people would like to hear about. Because it's pretty obvious that's exactly what they've done. And take a look at their behavior, not only with me, but others since then. I think that would be a great interview exposing how bad they are as people, as content creators, right? Dude, the Side Scrollers did it last year. They had an interview that was staged to be a legit interview. They used that as a grounds to then make tons of negative content about me, and they milked the shit out of my detractors. They literally, for months on end, had detractors coming to their streams throwing the money, and the people are so dumb that don't like me, they didn't fucking realize it. They went and gave them money for nothing. And then guess what? They moved on. They don't care about me. They never did.
They didn't turn into snakes. They tried to get clear answers out of DSP, but that's like squeezing blood from a rock. And again with the supposed terrible information the pig has on the Side Scrollers. Maybe that will come out during the June the King documentary he's now hyping up. But that's unlikely as the information just doesn't exist. And the detractors being milked for months by the Side Scrollers? Most of us before the interview took place thought that it would be a fluff piece or a pity party for the pigroach to try to garner more sympathy, maybe a couple more pay pigs while standing on his soapbox trying to make us all look like lunatics. Then the interview happened. The detractors saw how good it and well conducted it had been and decided to support the Side Scrollers for such a good work. Maybe some of them even stuck around for topics unrelated to DSP, which is their prerogative. And I thought that was his so-called business model. You know, if you like him and the content he puts out, you support it. It's that simple. People liked a particular piece of content and supported it. Like DSP says, afterwards, the Side Scrollers moved on from him and most of the detractors moved on from the Side Scrollers. I doubt many stuck around and became active supporters of them. In the end, the interview was a huge opportunity for the pigroach, which he then totally squandered. He can't avoid getting in his own way. I'm not the first one to say this, but if he wasn't as lazy as he is, the opportunity was there for him to throw massive doubt at the detractor community. He had so much time before the interview to create a new account and take a screenshot of it. And when Craig then asked about WWE Champions, which he knew was coming, the pic could go, "That's not my account, Craig. I'm going to send you an email showing my account name," before they tried to get him to FaceTime with Craig. I think if Craig had been sent a screenshot of the WWE Champions account so willingly, there is a very real possibility that he would just have taken Phil's word on it and said, "Guys, down from the rafters isn't him." Of course, a lot of detractors would still not believe it, but I think it had the potential to create a big divide in the community, and especially it would make everyone not familiar with the Snortex look at the detractor community as just a bunch of guys who make stuff up to make Phil look bad. But since Phil doesn't have the foresight, it didn't happen. Phil thinks he's playing 4D chess, but he's playing tic-tac-toe. If I may, I would like to entertain a massive speculation that I have. Imagine if Phil, during the interview, had come clean, admitted to his mobile games addiction, to his terrible spending habits, to all the terrible things he had said and done. Imagine he had done all this without trying to talk out of both sides of his mouth, that he had reflected and realized that he couldn't go on like this anymore and vowed to do better, to actually improve as a person, as opposed to what he actually does, to try to get his contact and his life back on track. I believe that it would have been one of the best redemption arcs the internet has ever seen. Of course, the vast majority of people would not outright believe him, but if, with time, people started seeing an actual meaningful change from him, I think a lot of them would forgive him, and maybe even become supporters of him. Think about it. DSP could be in a much better situation, even financially, if he just tried to be better. However, it all went down the way it did. In the end of the day, if I was in Phil's shoes, personally I'd be ashamed. Not just because of the way he is and the stuff he says and does, but because, like it or not, he has quite a few people on his corner. Why they are there, and if they should be there, is another story. But for better or worse, the Dents do support him no matter what. And personally, I'd be ashamed if I had so many people supporting and helping me, but still continued to be the way Phil Burnell is. That's my video. I hope you're all well, and have a good day.